If you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted, would you capture it or let it slip? And no, we're not talking about losing yourself. We're actually talking about announcing your game. And when you announce your game, you typically only have one real kick at the can. But what is the difference between a game announcement that gets ignored and one that lands on IGN? Well, matey, that's why I set sail to find today's guest, Robby Bisschop from Pirate PR. And having navigated the treacherous waters of indie marketing with dozens of developers, Robby has developed a proven system for turning game announcements into wishlist building machines. In this conversation, we're breaking down his proven systems for crafting press releases that actually get opened, building the professional assets that make media outlets take notice, and how to time your announcement for maximum impact. Plus, Robby's going to reveal his insider strategies for how to build media relationships that turn this one-time coverage into long-term partnerships. So let's get your game announcement out of page 3 of Reddit and onto IGN's feature section. Welcome to Freaking Cool Indies. All right, Robby, well, thank you very much, first and foremost, for joining me today on Freaking Cool Indies. And today we're going to be discussing announcing your game. It is a very important topic that every indie dev, I guess, technically has to go through in order to make it to launch. And it is one that I do think really sets up from many different areas. It sets up from a confidence level, it sets them up from a wish list level, from a followers level, but you know, there's a lot of big things that can come out of a successful indie game announcement. So that is why I brought on the expert himself, Robby from Pirate PR. And once again, Robby, thank you very much for jumping on and hanging out with us today.
Happy to be aboard.
Let's get started and let's just lay down the groundwork of why is the game announcement such a kind of critical, high stakes moment for an indie dev? Why should they be excited, worried, prepping, all of that type of stuff for their game announcement?
Yeah, and first of all, I'll define what I mean or what I understand under a game announcement. In my opinion, your game hasn't been announced yet unless you sent out a press release for it or big international outlets have covered it. So it's very possible that you've launched your Steam page. It may have even fizzled a little bit or something. Sometimes I see a Steam page launch. They didn't have a trailer yet, but they still had some screenshots. The Steam page has been around for a few months. Nobody saw it. Nobody engaged with it because they used placeholder stuff. The name might even still get changed at that point. But in my opinion, the announcement only formally happens when you send out a press release to the world, when you have a trailer go on IGN, GameSpot, Wholesome Games, whatever fits. As long as the majority of people haven't seen it around yet, and then with people I mostly mean press and creators, in a lesser form the end audience, like the players, as long as those people haven't seen it, you can still do an announcement again. Like even if your soft announcement of just posting it to Steam and seeing what happens failed, you can still have a redo of it and go like, let's make a really good trailer, let's have a look at our key art, let's have a look at our screenshots. Let's basically treat it like the game hasn't been announced or the Steam page hasn't been live yet and go from there. And that's a really big important moment because you can just take that solo. You can send out, hey, IGN or game trailers, here's my trailer, do you want to host it? And just pick a moment whenever it's fine for you to announce it. Or you can pitch that idea around as something valuable. And in that case, it might hurt you that the Steam page is already up and I wouldn't really direct people you're pitching to do it. But it's a valuable thing to announce your new game, especially if you're making a really kick-ass trailer alongside of it. So that's something you should be pitching to events. Future Game Show, the Summer Game Fest if you're lucky, the PC Gaming Show. Like big, small, doesn't matter. I would pitch it as broad and as possible, as long as it applies, and see which one of them bites. And then usually they'll ask stuff like, is this the first time you're announcing the game in an event? And then you can still tick the box yes, but you only get to do that once. And again, that's because you'll get the world exclusive basically, or the Game Awards, the world premiere for your game. Press and YouTube outlets, they're looking for this kind of thing because even if the game fizzles and doesn't do anything eventually when it releases, at least they're the ones to announce it. They're the ones to break the news, to get the exclusive on it. So you have something of value there.
Okay, so I feel like there's lots to dissect from what we just talked about already.
I was holding back still, so I'll slow down.
Robby, this is just the start of the show, my man. We gotta ease these fine folks into this. Okay, so I want to quickly jump back and first talk about the let's call it re-announcing then, right? So if I'm an indie dev, I've gone and I've launched a Steam page because I just want to start collecting some wish lists. I've maybe posted on Twitter saying like, hey, I'm making a game, but like I haven't reached out to outlets, I haven't reached out to creators, I haven't done all that. Have you seen any difference or any impact of kind of having a fizzled out Steam page and then trying to do a relaunch as opposed to, the grandiose big launch of everything all together?
Yeah, and I'm not really fizzled out. Sometimes even things doing well. Like a recent game I worked on was Katana. I wouldn't say it was doing terribly. The game looked good. They already had a good trailer. The key art was awesome. And the developer was even doing social media posts and Reddit posts for it. But he could basically see the impact of the wish lists being somewhat in line with how much money he was spending on Reddit advertisement. I still didn't consider that an announcement because press wasn't talking about it. There was not really a lot of YouTube videos around for it. The demo hadn't launched yet, I think, at that point. I think our press release launched the demo alongside of it. But just us pitching that same trailer that was so awesome to IGN, getting it not just on game trailers, but also on IGN, getting a press release for it. Then the press release was opened by press and creators. Splattercat started playing it. A combination of all of those things, he could really see a giant spike. And that's things that he can use on social media because every person who's suddenly talking about the game, he can share that news. He can lean into it and go like, hey, this big outlet really talked about my game and they were super positive about it. My mind is blown. That all escalates into just a point where now the game is announced, now the plateau has been set, and you'll just see bigger spikes and returning people coming to it, and the wish list just happening from people finding YouTube videos, from finding articles that have been online already, versus a Reddit ad is only visible as long as the Reddit ad is being paid for. As soon as you stop paying for it, it's gone, and the wish lists stop coming as well.
Very interesting. Yeah, and I know there's a study out there that basically it's something along the lines of people need to see something like 8 to 11 times before they register it.
The law of familiarity. Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like when you do a successful launch correctly, that means when someone watches something on YouTube and their sidebar is also filled with other things of that game, I think that's just starting to reinforce like, oh, this is something that I should probably pay attention to.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So yeah, I can definitely see for some games, not for all of them, the moment we send out a press release, you can see the spike. And then as soon as if there's a free demo, it's not like we are sending out codes, so we don't always have a direct line of contact with creators where they're going, hey, can I have a code? Yes, here's your code. Then they create a video and we can say, that's because of us, because there's no way they could have gotten a code unless we sent it to them. There's a direct line of proof there. With a demo, that's a little bit more difficult, but we can always ask, like, hey, was it us that brought this game to you? Or just going through our tool that we're using to send out a press release, and if you see, like, it's been opened, it's been clicked, and then the next day there's coverage for the game, chances are it's going to be through our press release. And that's really a good thing for the developer, but also for us, like, the emotions you feel. I'm doing this for 3 years now, and I still get that rush every time a big creator goes and covers one of our games. I'm like cheering there right with the developer, like, yeah, success.
I love it. And is the ultimate goal of the announcement, are we just talking wish lists, or is it just to kind of...
That's the goal of the developer. For me, the goal is coverage. Articles online, reviews, interview requests. People saying, yeah, if this game ever comes out, even though we didn't announce a release date yet or a demo or when we have codes, if a game is really interesting, we'll get lots of creators already saying, ooh, keep me on the list for when this game comes out because I want to cover it. And those are the successes for me. For the developer, it's obviously wish lists because that's the only measurable thing they can look at that has any kind of proof of popularity for them. Because I can show them a video that has been seen 100,000 times, but if they don't see wishlists alongside of it, yay for that one channel who has 100,000 views, but what do I get out of it for making the game that's so popular on that channel, right?
So then you're doing that. It's like, again, it's the fine balance of, yeah, it's like it's a wish list and also making sure that people are seeing it as well.
Yeah, plus wishlist is a measure on Steam, but sometimes a game doesn't only come out on Steam and also on consoles. And people have much less of a habit of wishlisting something or favoriting something on consoles. So the wishlist is more of a mental thing that happens. That, like, they won't actively put a reminder saying, when this game comes out, remind me. But they did see it, they did register it sometime, and then when there is a sale or when they see the thumbnail come by when they're scrolling the store or something, that's when that wishlist conversion in their mind happens, like, I've seen this around on social media, or I saw my favorite creator playing it. And the transition into then buying the game is just so much smoother than if it's the very first time they see that thumbnail or that title. They still have to click it, they still have to do the research at that point in time, like, what was the trailer again, or what does this game look like again? Versus them actually already kind of being sold on the game months beforehand. They just didn't know it yet.
When you're starting to get those positive messages coming back into you, hey, keep me posted about this game, like I want to check this out later down the line. For both you and again, for our audience, someone at home who is about to announce their game and they want to collect these information, do you just have like a G sheet of, outlet name, person name, email? Like, is it as simple as that, or does it need to be a little bit more complex?
I try to capture that in front of time. So when I'm just announcing a game, usually there's nothing, and I just copy paste it to the developer in a Discord or something, like going, hey, this big outlet wants to have it. If it's a smaller outlet, usually I just reply back, like, if we're still working on this game in a few months, we'll have a form where you can click to request a link. Please request it at that time, because we don't know yet today what platforms it's going to be on, and at that point we need to collect your data, like what's your outlet, what's your email address, what platform and region do you want to play the game on. Usually I also include a little bit of why are you interested in this game, so they can pitch to me why they are a good match for it. And that usually happens a little bit later, so not during the announcement phase.
But are you keeping track of those people then for once the form is ready to, like, hey, just want to let you know that we're kind of good to go now. Here's the form, fill this out.
I have a form would be nicer. The form comes later, and I usually create it at a later stage. My personal process is I have a Trello, and then on the Trello I have an inbox, approved, denied, sent, basically boxes. And in the inbox, I manually add some people who tell me by email I'm interested in this, so I can poke them later. But ideally, I still want them to fill in a form with more information closer to the release date, so I know, are they still interested? Because if somebody tells me, ooh, I want to cover this game in February, and the game comes out in October, I can't just send them a code in October assuming they'll cover it. I need to do a check first, like, do you have time right now in your schedule, your work-life balance? So I still need to do a quick recheck closer to when the game comes out. And then that's if I'm doing the send out. With Pirate PR, a lot of my clients, they just pay for a press release, and I let them handle the code send out, because that's the most expensive part of what I do. It just takes hours upon hours upon hours of time of going yes, no, investigating every single request, making sure no fakes or scammers are getting our keys. So much time just crawls into that. And to save money, I coach a lot of my indie devs just to do how to do this themselves. And someone on their team, usually the community manager, they find the time for it, they handle it, and it saves them thousands of euros because they don't have to pay an external person to do it. And then I can still guide them, and they're the ones responsible for capturing that kind of information.
Yeah, I think I smell a follow-up episode, Robby. I think helping people to find these scammers is,
Yeah, I have an article for that as well on the website. I refer to it all of the time. I still need to re-refer people to it all of the time because I usually send it to them, and then they'll go like, is this a scammer? And I always keep a line of communication open between me and the developer. So on Discord or email, they can either forward me the email, or on Discord, when they are using a tool, they can say like, hey, I found this guy on Keymailer, or this person on Press Engine or Lurkit. Are they legit? And I do a quick check, and then I tell them no and why. And then the idea behind it is training them in these are the red flags you should have spotted. And I always have to link again to my article saying like, this was already in there.
Well, the article, for anyone who is interested, will be linked in the description below. So again, go check it out. Go check out, obviously, Robby and Pirate PR as well. All right, so next I want to jump into what is, let's call them the public-facing assets. And I know we've already talked a little bit about the trailer as well as the Steam page, but again, these are both two of the most core areas from the developer as well as the future buyer, right? So when it comes to this relationship, and Does the Steam page and the trailer need to be kind of fully locked in together at this announcement time? Are you ever communicating to press when, you know, it's like, I have the Steam page at like 70% done, but I can probably go in and retweak some tags and add some more GIFs? Or are you really trying to spend the time prior to make sure it's in a good spot?
Usually I spend the time prior, so I only take on clients when I believe in the game personally, so that's basically a first level of me getting started on a game. Like, if somebody pitches to me, and that's the lucky position I find myself in, is that most indie devs are pitching to me and asking like, hey, can you help? I do almost zero outreach myself asking for work. And then usually they send me their Steam page or a pitch deck, and I have a look at it, and I can quickly tell if it's a game I would play as a player, and if the answer to that is no, or if there's nothing there that's unique, or no unique hook that gets me interested, and it's also going to be very difficult for me to get other people interested in the game. So that's usually a cutoff point where already the not cool games or the games that don't have something unique, they fall out of the consideration. And then the ones that do, I have a look at the things that they already have up, the key art, the screenshots, the trailer is the most important thing, the copywriting as well. And all of this happens before we send out the press release. And what I see happen a lot is I'm reworking some of the wording for the press release, for the press kit. And I'm doing this in communication with the developer. And in 70 to 80% of the cases when I'm doing new copywriting, they usually ask like, hey, should I put this on the Steam page? And I say, hey, you're free to use whatever I write on your own Steam page. Because sometimes they like it better, or it's more concise, or it gets to the point quicker or something. And or just they are falling into traps of just listing all of the genres their game falls into without actually selling what makes it unique. Stuff like that. And then, yeah, that's a feedback moment that still happens. And especially the trailer. I can't make a trailer myself. If I see that the developer has a really cool game and their trailer is just terrible or making some mistakes, I'll list those mistakes. They can try to fix it themselves, but if they are very unsecure, or they lack the confidence of saying I can make this better, then I will give them a list of people that have made a trailer for us at some point. I never get paid for it. It's just a list of here's that person's name, email address, their price tag, and whatever they are doing. Some other games trailers that I really enjoyed, and I just give them a list to pick from, and then they can work with one of those people, and I'll know I have a better trailer to go alongside of my press release.
And I know you're not an expert at making the trailers, but I can almost bet my life that you've watched
Yes.
a handful of them.
I watch all of them, and I watch them first the same way a player would. The first time I watch a trailer, I don't watch the trailer. I click through random moments in the trailer, and then I make notes of did I see things that I like, because make no mistake, the end target audience or something, they won't see the first second until the last second of your trailer. They're basically treating it as an interactive slideshow where they just click at random intervals and see, does this game interest me? Unless your game is part of a showcase, the chances of somebody watching your trailer in its entirety are close to zero. Or they must really, really like the genre. So that's my first test, and then the second test is really like breaking it down second per second, going, can we cut this? Can we rearrange this? Can we make the timing on this better? You have a static camera in the game, but why show the entire trailer with a static camera? You can cheat your way in the trailer at least by zooming in on stuff and making it a little bit more dynamic. And I'll give them a breakdown of these things. And usually people can work with that kind of feedback and remake the trailer themselves. Otherwise, I have to refer them to someone and say, like, this is what it'll cost if someone external will have to do it, but I would still consider it because your trailer is one of the most important assets. You'll make new trailers along the line, but chances are this one we're going to use for the announcement, you'll use it for a few months on social media. It's the thing that everybody sees on your Steam page, on your store page, so it's really important to get that right.
This is the first major beat, right? Like, of course, you're going to probably have a trailer when the release date is ready to go, or different areas of the creation. But
yeah, and we're talking about announcing your game, and actually the good order of things for me in announcing your game is first getting your landing page correct. In some cases, the Steam page isn't live yet, but they can show a preview of it, and we can give some feedback on it during that stage already. But you need the landing to be correct. The Steam page, let's assume. In 99% of the cases, there's a Steam page. Sometimes there's also other platforms. That needs to be in order. The trailer is the second most important thing. And then when I just going back one more, when I talk about that Steam page, the key art is also part of it. Like, you'll have a small thumbnail art, but if I'm sending out a press release, I'll usually need a 1920 1080 version of that at least as the header image. So that's a really important thing to have. And then when they're sending out the trailers, they're going to need thumbnails for that as well. So if you have one or multiple key arts or just really good art with no logo or with the logo, so people can still rearrange it the way they want it on their own platform, that's important to have. And then that trailer, you're going to want to pitch it in an order of importance, first to the biggest events in the world. And then if they are not responsive, to the smaller events in the world. And if they're not responsive, then you're going to want to pitch the trailer and your press release as its own item to places like GameSpot, IGN, Game Trailers, and they will announce it for you. Your chances of getting on Game Trailers with a decent trailer are really high. People always see it like a wild success when I get their trailer onto it. And it was like, it's not that hard. It's just one email, giving them what they need. And if your trailer is good, there is an 80% or higher that they will post it. And if they didn't, it's probably not that they don't like your trailer, it's just bad timing. Try again later. Like, usually with announcing the game, unless it's tied to an event, and if you're already in an event, and good on you, you're already winning. If you're not in an event, you can postpone. You can try a little bit. You can try again a little bit later. And that's, I would really need a good trailer to go alongside it, because either I will send out a press release saying this game got announced at this event, or I'm just sending out a press release saying, announcing this new game. Here is the trailer on Game Trailers, ideally. Because if we don't have any of those things, and it's just us by ourselves, like we're sending out a press release, the trailer is hosted on the developer's channel, it could still work. I've seen several cases where they still get like 60,000, 100,000 views, and it's always good when that happens. But your chances at that success are slower than if you're leaning into a bigger outlet helping you.
Yeah. If someone were to publish on their own channel, and again they see success, they get 100,000 views, are you going to go back to some of those people that you didn't hear from saying like, hey, look, like, again, this game's got some real traction, like, would you consider kind of tossing the announced trailer on now?
Even on like IGN, if I pitch to them, sadly, unless you are pitching an exclusive, with an exclusive they mean that they at least get 24 hours before you post a trailer public and everybody else gets to use it. So for 24 hours they are the only one hosting the trailer. On those kind of pitches, you usually get a no or a yes in the front ahead of time. So you know where you stand. If you're pitching just to get the trailer out there on IGN or on Game Trailers and somebody else has shared it already, or you have already shared it publicly, you're not going to get a no, you're just going to get silence back. So that's really unfortunate. It's really demotivating as well. And I'm Belgian/Flemish, and nagging is something that really doesn't come natural to us. Like, I have to force myself to do it, to send people reminders, because I'm always like, maybe they just don't have time and I need to give them some extra moments. But no, I have to be a little bit more consequent with my actions and go like, hey, have you seen this? I didn't get an answer yet. Is there something we can change so you can reconsider? Or just pitch again and try at a later date, because I pitched a lot of trailers in the first week of June and the week before, but it was just Armageddon of events happening all at the same time, so you know that the people on the other side of that computer, they're just too busy even to say no or to explain why. Plus, if they say no, other people, not me, but other people will nag and go like, why not? Is my trailer not good enough? Especially developers, they get really protective of what they made themselves, and I'm betting that outlets like IGN and Game Trailers try to avoid those scenarios by just not replying to it and only just posting the ones. I have approval for this. I have an embargo for it. Let's post it.
1,000%. And again, I feel like it's don't come back with a negative.
Yes, but if I'm pitching again a second time, for example, assuming they didn't have time, it helps you. Like, it's a ton of help if I can give some kind of proof alongside of it. Like, hey, last time I pitched this trailer to you at a moment when we didn't announce the game yet, but we announced it, and now it's been a week. We have 7,000 wish lists. It's not gigantic, but 7,000 in a week is not bad. That's like something you can list already in as a bullet point of like, here's why you should reconsider. I think with a recent game from let's call him a friend, because I never met him in person. We always miss each other at Gamescom when we try to meet. But there's this solo dev in Germany, Zorro Arts, Matteo, who I've been helping freelance, and not freelance, for free basically. Just like giving him free advice, and I even pitched his game for free to IGN and made a free press release for him because I saw him posting one on GamesPress, and I was like, dude, ask me, I can do it better for you. I have a paying subscription on GamesPress. I can just do the same thing for you, but better. And then when I already did that, I was like, I already inputted the work of rewriting some stuff. I might as well just send it out to my list. And also pitch it to IGN. And in that pitch to IGN, I listed like, hey, these 3 big German streamers that he reached out to, I had nothing to do with it. It was him pitching on social media mostly to those people like, hey, play my game. They did. There was 2 TikTok videos and 1 Twitch video with a lot of views, and I just bullet point all of them to something like IGN and go like, hey, here's why you should be paying attention to this game that looks like a game jam game, because it is. It was made in 6 weeks, but it's cool. It's got viral potential, and here's proof that it has viral potential.
And one final question that I have: when you're doing this re-engagement, right? You message them first time, you don't hear back from them, or you get a no. But let's just say for the sake of this one, you don't hear back, right? Are you following up in the same thread for, like, let's say a handful of weeks or months later, or are you just starting a new one to try and, like, you know, distance past Robby from this, and like, let's just start afresh?
Both.
Maybe they just don't even remember me.
Both.
Like,
usually the first, when I send it out, it's way ahead of embargo. And then when I don't see anything happen, usually I don't check right before embargo because, again, I don't like to nag. But if I said, for example, it was 6 p.m., the embargo, and at 7 p.m. their video is still not uploaded on their channel, then at 7 p.m. I will send a reminder in the same thread going like, hey, maybe you might have missed this or something, but embargo is over, you are now okay to share this trailer to your channels. That happens in the same thread. If it's a few weeks later or something, or I really realize it was probably just really bad timing, or maybe they were seeing lots of really cool AAA games being announced at the same time, and those got preference, then I want to distance myself a little bit from that decision that they may have decided no earlier, and just start a new thread to get the chance for a yes to be a little bit higher. And I'll also reword the email like that, because sometimes maybe I've already shared an embargo, but that embargo is no longer the same. I might have changed it already, or the trailer has already been out. It also depends if we've gone live with the game or the trailer ourselves or not. Like, sometimes the developer will have posted it, the press release is out already. I don't always push for the trailer to still be shared by those big channels afterwards, unless there is something relevant to it. Like if it's the first gameplay trailer, a concrete example for this example would be Pirates Outlaws 2, which was a client of ours. They were in Steam Next Fest, but this Steam Next Fest took place in the first week of June when all of those events were taking place. I knew they were very busy. So I just pitched it. Again, even though the trailer was already shared on our own channels, the press release had already gone out, 2 of them even. And I just said, like, I'm thinking of sending out a new press release. This gameplay trailer, only the developer shared it, but you didn't yet. So if you will post it right now with the embargo of tonight, then next week when I send out the next press release as a reminder, I will instead include your embedded trailer. And that brings like 10,000 extra eyes to their trailer as well.
all right, Robby. Now, I know, so we've mentioned it a million times already, but I want to kind of move into now, let's call it more of the professional facing assets, right? So what is the, we know from the Steam page in the trailer that's going out to the end customer, but now we want to talk about the actual, like, what's going out to the press. So to the streamers, to the reviewers, to the IGNs, to the game trailers of the world. So when we're talking press release, what is it? Like, what elements go into a press release? What makes a great press release?
I'll use my template and I'll keep it in mind, and you can just use an example or link to it later so people can follow along. Basically, it starts with the key art. So your game logo on a good, enticing key art, ideally one that says this is the genre of the game. So not just your title art slapped onto a random color, but really it sells the game already. If people see the title and the key art, they should already have to be able to make a pretty good guess about what genre it is, what kind of game it is, in my opinion. So that's the first thing I need. In 1920 1080 format, important here, by the way, and that's true for all of the things that I will list, is to keep the file size low. consider that we're sending this out as an email. Some inboxes, they have a cap at 10 megabytes. So if your email in total is bigger than 10 megabytes, they will just not receive it, or the chances of them putting it into the spam or promotion folder are way higher. So even though you want your key art in a good size format, use a JPEG instead of a PNG, use 1920 1080 instead of like 4K PNG. If your key art is already taking up 5 megabytes of the 10 megabyte total that you have, then you're off to a bad start for the rest of the assets. The second thing you'll need is a good title. Ideally, the title, again, sells people on the game. The most common mistake I see that people make is just writing their title and whatever call to action they have, and that's the title of the game plus the call to action, and that's the title of the press release. For example, game is out now. Great. Unless your game is doing the selling for you and it's really, really clear what kind of game you're working on. Like some games have that. Power Wash Simulator. Doesn't take a genius to figure out what the game is about. If you could theoretically go, Power Wash Simulator is out right now, and people would click it if they think that's a game that they would like. But if you can insert a pun or something funny or something descriptive of the genre, or if it's a horror game, make clear that it's a horror game, the chances of people clicking that press release are much higher. I'm a dad. I use dad jokes all of the time. I'm forgiven for it, and I even keep track of every time someone from the press mentions one of my puns in their articles, going like, see, this is proof that people, they're also dads, they're also into old man jokes, so it's not always a bad thing to use them if it's a hook enough for them to open it. Like a really cool example for this was when Rock Paper Shotgun, they did an article about a game called 10 Dead Doves, and it's a Lovecraftian horror game, and it got 10 Dead Doves, Lovecraftian, so I put into my title or something like Dovecraftian Horror Awaits. And then I had Nick Rubin from Rock Paper Shotgun like copy-pasting the sentence from my title, basically going, this is the reason I clicked the press release, because there was this pun in the title. And then I can go to the developer, aha! I had value, you see? And then just, yeah, I love coming up with puns, with expressions, and then if people reuse this, that's a total adrenaline hook for me. Like, the very first press release I did was for painting VR, and then I always used the expression VR-artists. People caught on to this, and they started using it as well, and eventually the developer started using it as well on social media, and I was like, yay! Yeah.
And I just want to confirm, when we're talking title, we're not talking email subject line of trying to get the person.
It's the same.
This is okay.
It's the same, but the email subject line, you can still insert something additionally to the title. So, for example, if my title is Dovecraftian Horror Awaits, 10 Dead Doves will release in June or something, I can still preface something in the actual subject of the email, going, for example, and this is an important one, Steam codes available now. Because having that in front of it already tells people, like, this is just not news I can ignore. It's a chance for me to get a key ahead of time. I must click this. There's a link somewhere in that press release so I can get a code for this game. So that's something I always include.
That was my next question. Is in the subject line, are you doing in brackets, press release, and then having Dovecraftian horror, just as a way to let people know that, hey, this.
If it's just a press release, no. If it's just an announcing in the game or something, it would be somewhere in the title, like game announcement, but I don't prefix anything. Plus, people on our lists, it's not the first email that they get. They get emails from press@piratepr.com. They know it's press releases. So if it's just a press release or an update, I don't need to define every single thing like this is that genre, this is that genre. The main distinction I make basically is we have codes, because for press, they can just copy paste the press release, or they can write something, or they can try and do an interview beforehand. But for creators, the keys are available, or the demo is out now. Those are two important ones because it's the first times they can do something.
We have the title of the press release. What are some of the other things that are going into the, like, I open the email and what am I seeing here?
So next I usually include a subtitle. This is like also in an email, this would be what preview text they see. Online, it's just a subtitle. Here we recap things, so we go into more details. For example, if in the title we say this game is coming out on PC and consoles, then in the subtitle we can actually define already saying Consoles means Switch, Xbox, PlayStation or something. Or we can also include what else are things in this press release that are of importance. For example, keys are open right now, or we reached 100,000 wish lists is something possible, or check out the brand new trailer we made. Basically, we list all of our call to actions that are not the main news we're sending out for. That's the subtitle. Then I usually start with the date, obviously, when it's going out, just so people can know when the press release was sent out, even if they're opening it later. A small introduction. Again, diving right into the main thing here would be developer name, the studio name or something, from this country is announcing that new trailer, participating in an event, a release date announcement, the game is out now. Basically, what are they announcing? Giving some clarification on that, all at the top, because people need to know, why am I reading this? Then you start convincing them on, why am I reading this for this game? So you, even though later on we'll have an about the game, you still need some kind of, this is why you should care line, at least one paragraph, pointing out the key features of the game, like what makes this game unique, basically the USP or something, in a cleverly written way. And you should think of this like, if somebody is going to quote anything from my press release, that's usually that second paragraph or something that you want them to just quote you word per word for it, because it's the one you give the most attention to. Then I start with the trailer, because I want to have something for them to look at right after reading a little bit. That trailer is, and then also saying like, this is the official trailer, or this is the trailer on the developers channel, so people know they can reuse it. Or if it's by IGN, I'll also mention like the official trailer on IGN's channel, because if they do that, they usually watermark it, and you can't really share it without their watermark for like 24 hours. Then below it, it depends on what I'm communicating about. If it's, for example, a new and improved demo, it could be bullet points saying this is what's new to the demo. If it's a game coming out, it could be quotes. That's something I always like to do, is like handpick 5 quotes from press and creators saying that they really like the game, usually as different as they can be. So because if they all say the same thing but from a different outlet, it happens sometimes. I try to find the ones that are at least content-wise different and saying something unique that the other ones weren't saying about the game yet. And that's, again, proof of popularity. Like, hey, if Vice, IGN, GameSpot, PC Gamer, Nintendo Live, Xbox Hub, PlayStation, if all of those big outlets are talking about the game in some way and I can list them, it's already a proof of like, okay, so this game is known, other people have played it, they liked it, maybe I should be caring about this as well.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the conversation, but I wanted to take a quick second just to tell you about today's sponsor, me. Well, actually, more specifically, the 7-Day Marketing Foundations Challenge that I have put together. So, if you've gotten this far in the podcast, then I know that you are serious about becoming an indiepreneur and building a strong marketing foundation around your game. So, I have a challenge for you. Give me 20 minutes a day for the next 7 days, and I will give you a marketing system that actually works. Each day builds upon the last, and throughout the 7 days, we're going to be doing things like defining your ideal player, crafting a killer pitch, optimizing your Steam page, and building an outreach list, as well as sending some emails with some proven and provided templates. Look, there's no overwhelm, just small daily wins that will compound into real results. So if you want to learn more, check out the link below in the description, and I cannot wait to cheer you on. Besides that, have a great rest of your day, and let's get back to the episode. This would be an announcement email as you're kind of going through.
Yeah, that would be for a release announcement.
Okay. Oh, for a release. Okay, perfect.
This would be a release announcement. There has already been a demo, and people have already gotten a taste of the game. And that demo can either be public or something private, or it can even be at an event. Like if we're going to Gamescom, we're bringing a demo to Gamescom. Press comes over to the booth and plays it. We can interview them or ask like, hey, can you in a single sentence say what you like about the game? Those are already quotes we can collect at those points to later use at other intervals. But whatever you put there can be something else as well entirely. It could be we're doing a contest, for example, like we're announcing the game and the demo will launch at this date, and at the same time that the demo will launch, we'll also do a speedrun contest or something that you can just think of ways to engage your audience and think of who you're trying to engage. Like that speedrun contest might appeal to a creator, But for somebody who only reviews games for a living, they might not be interested in a speedrun contest. So you might need to differentiate your emails a little bit depending on who you're sending it to.
Awesome. And what would typically be the level of personalization that you should be looking for? Is it, because I know obviously when it comes to reaching out to people, you don't want to just copy paste send. You do want some level of personalization, but does it need to be, super in the weeds with it?
For a press release, no, because I'm sending it out to 10,000 people, and 10,000 individualized emails would take like 2 years for me to send out for just one press beat. So the press release is really just, that's what we consider the shotgun blast. We're sending it out to everybody, and everybody gets the same version of it, or there's 2 versions of it, one for press and one for creators. That's slightly different depending on what we need. If you're talking about really personalizing something, either that happens before the press release when we are sending out, like, we have limited demo keys and you're making a list of creators that you really want to cover the game. That can happen before the press release. Or you can send out the press release first, and then either they respond automatically and you just take it from there, or you see that they've opened it, they've clicked it, but they didn't do anything with it, and you can still respond to that same press release and go like, hey, did you see my press release 2 days ago? Have you considered playing the game? Right now, there's only the demo, so we can't promise you anything exclusive or something. But if you do create something for the demo, then we guarantee that you will be one of the first to get a full game key when the game comes out. Stuff like that is a little bit of one-on-one follow-up. But we can't do this for the entire list. That's usually reserved for like the biggest names in the industry.
Yeah. Okay. Very awesome. So just to reiterate for our listeners, when we're talking about the launch announcement, we're including things, obviously headline, or like a header, subheader, which is the key details. So when is the game coming out? Who's it coming out by, etc. Including the trailer, key quotes from other people that have played the game, or other sites like IGN who have maybe already looked at the game and talked about it there. What would anything else that I'm missing?
Yeah,
that
we're halfway. We're
Okay,
halfway
perfect.
into what a single press release has. So the next thing would be links that I include. So the Steam page link. I'm also going to reiterate that I really put like Steam page or Steam store, double point, and then the full link, so people can click it, and they also know what they are clicking because the hyperlink is the same as the readable link. For some people, this is important for scam prevention as well, because if you have something like click here, it's not going to, if you have too many of those links, some email clients don't like it and they like to see links in full, or as many as possible. But I do still like to at least use the Steam page or another store page higher up in the email, where we're going like, this game now has a demo on Steam, and then on Steam I will also hyperlink to it, so that the very first paragraph of the email already is some blue text that's clickable, so they can go somewhere and they don't have to go look for it. But then below the trailer, we list some things like the store pages, ideally the Steam page, sometimes other pages as well, a press kit, and I'll get back to that later, but the press kit has all of the things that are in the press release and more. So basically your information sheet, things that you're not going to include in your press release, but people still might need, all of those go into the press kit. I can do a deep dive on what's in those later. Contact, this can either be me, like, hey, if you have some questions, just ask Robby at piratepr.com. But also sometimes the developer, and then I ask the developer ahead of time, like, are you open to interviews? And if they are, I put between brackets saying interviews welcome. Usually that translates into only like 2 or 3 people saying like, yes, I'll do an interview, but still it's good content. And even if those are really tiny outlets, I still let my developers do those interviews, because it's good training for when the bigger outlets come knocking later. So they have the answers ready already. Most people ask the same questions anyway, so they can already get a little bit of practice of answering those things of what makes my game important. Mm-hmm. Then it's purely informational about the game. This is often just a copy-paste of the short text on Steam or the first paragraph on Steam, if they did a good job at writing it themselves. Otherwise, I help rewriting it. But that's basically what is my game? What genre is it? What setting is it? What makes it unique? What's cool about it? Why should you care? List all of those things. Then I like to include a GIF below it. Again, going to raise that topic of keeping the file size small. That's the biggest challenge actually, is the GIF, because very, very easily you'll have one that's like 9 megabytes or bigger, and then it just takes up your entire email of available space. So use things like easy GIF to compress it or make it smaller in size, or keep in mind that your GIF isn't like half a minute long, because nobody will watch it in full anyway, and you're probably are better off just focusing on like 1 or 2 seconds that are really good and then looping that again and again and again. Key features, basically just bullet points. What makes your game? Is it single player? Is it multiplayer? What makes it cool? What makes it tick? Why should people care? Again, but in a smaller thing. Try to avoid in the key features or the bullet points to just use numbers. That's also, again, a trap I see where developers go, I have 15 levels. I have 12 monsters to fight. For you, it's a checkpoint because you're going like, whoa, I was able to insert 12 different monsters to fight. For the person reading it, it's just a number. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So just listing numbers doesn't really mean it. If anything, the most important number that you'll have towards the release of your game to press and creators is the playtime of your game, and it's because they need to evaluate, do I have time in my schedule to play this? Then you can, but this is not something that will usually make it into whatever they write from the press release or in the news, but it's in the block where you're going, hey, do you want the key for this game? Just an aside, this game takes about 2 hours to beat story only, or 5 hours if you're going for 100% completion. That's just really important information for people to have.
Yeah.
So the key features, then a gallery of screenshots, because we still need some visual assets, and then the people can pick from this in their press their news posts, like which screenshots am I going to use. Again, don't put too many of them. I usually go for 5 minimum, 8 maximum. Sometimes it varies, just to give people the assets they need. And then all the way at the bottom is usually stuff like the call to action repeat again, like, hey, you can wishlist this now, or if you want more updates, follow the developer on Twitter, Blue Sky. And then below that is about the studio. Rarely does this get copied entirely, the About the Studio, but it does give some information to people that they might find valuable. Like, for example, if I'm talking about the studio at the bottom and I'm saying this studio from Brussels, Belgium, and I'm sending it out to everybody, the other people from Brussels, Belgium who read this, they might go like, oh, that's from my town. And that translates for the entire world. So just like say where you're coming from, say how big your team is this your first game or your second game, just a short who are you and why are you making this game can help people convince to do something. A perfect example of this is Spilled. If you know the game from Lente, it's the game where you clean up with a boat, and her being able to say like, hey, I'm a solo dev making this game where you clean up oil spills on a boat, and oh, by the way, I live on a boat and I make this game on a boat. It's just like a really cool, unique story that you don't get every day. So if you get something like that, use it and abuse it. Just put it everywhere and keep repeating it until people also use it in their outlet, in their news.
I love that. And
so that's the press release.
Yeah, it's a hell of an email. That's for sure.
Yes.
It's a very
and you need it's long, and you still need to make it feel like it's short. Like people should not get bored from scrolling through it or reading it. Put visual breaks in between. No walls of text. If your sentence is getting too long, consider splitting it into 2 sentences, putting a break so it starts a new paragraph or something. Like, just make it easy to digest.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you want to keep it front and center in an email. You don't want it to be hyperlinked into a Google Doc or something where someone needs to click, right? Just
that happens automatically with the tool I'm using. So whenever they click anything, sadly, this is the one I wanted that would work inside of it. But embedded trailers don't work. So if people click a trailer, it automatically either goes to YouTube, or in our case, it just opens the press release on Presley, which is the tool I'm using, and it focuses on the trailer, so they need to do another click to actually play the trailer. Gotcha. In an ideal world, they could play this trailer in their browser, in their email client, but that's not something that's possible that I know of. So that's one thing that they will always have to do. And that's why I like having Presley, because it's not just a Google Doc or a click here for more information. It's a professional looking landing spot for all of our press releases. That's why I use a template as well. They're all shaped the same way, so people who get multiple press releases, they can almost automatically scroll to a certain point in the press release and go like, this information I need is there, because it's always there. It breeds a little bit of familiarity.
Would you suggest that a solo dev sign up for something like a Pressly, or is it just
It's
create it in Gmail and
yeah. If
do
you're
your
doing
best?
something, I'm using a tool because I'm sending out multiple press releases each week from multiple clients. For a solo dev, something like Mailchimp would probably be smarter if they're going to do something like that, or just make a really good email and a landing page. In that case, you could make a PDF or a Google Doc or something and include that Google Doc in what becomes your press kit and still link to it in some form. Because it's not always worth the cost if you're a solo dev just sending out one press release every 6 months or something for your game. Then it's not going to be worth the money that it costs. Because all of those things are subscription based. Mailchimp you can use up to a certain point for free or for very cheap. But I found it's not a tool I recommend people to use because more often than not, Mailchimp is the most recognized mass mailer in the world, I think, at this point. And the promotions, spam things of inboxes, they've caught on. So if I sent the exact same email from Pressly and then would send it from Mailchimp would have like an open rate of 20%, where I have like 45%, just because of how many outlets just filter it out and go like, this is a mass email sent to everybody, the exact same email. So it's probably not something I'm going to put into priority.
Yeah. I myself, I'm a big fan of kit.com. That's what I've been using even just for my personal, or not my personal, sorry, for the Freaking Cool Indies newsletter. A great way to both collect emails, but also same thing to create those nice templates where you can have all of your assets, line breaks, the whole, embed videos, the whole thing there. And it's fully free, I think, for up to like the first 10,000 subscribers. So you're like more than enough room.
And I thought of another alternative that you could use. For my press kits, I often use Notion, and I have a template that people can just copy paste for their press kits. But you could put a press release on Notion just as well, because you have the same HTML5 formatting, drag and drop stuff where you can make a template for yourself and then refer people to this. And if you wanted to, you could actually make that press kit be your press release if everything is there that they need. But usually that would a press kit is timeless. Like you can use it from the start of your game when announcing it until when the game comes out, and far below after it. It will always be the same thing, but you make small tweaks to it. Whereas a press release is really in the moment and you're focusing on what's important now, today. So that's the major distinction between them in the content-wise if you were going to make something in Notion.
Perfect. And then for the press kit, what would be kind of 5 to 7 things that are just like, non-negotiable? This is what needs to be involved with it.
I'll start with the key art. I've already mentioned it a few times, but you also want to have that key art where the logo and the key art is separated from each other. So people can still, for example, if they have a certain thumbnail template that they use for their own channel on their YouTube, you don't want your title to be fixated in that same slot where they always put their face or something, so they can still make some changes. And ideally, they don't have to dive into Photoshop and go and remove and erase it and then cut out your logo and put it somewhere else. You're going to want to make that easy for them. So have those assets available separately, but also together for the one person who doesn't want to go through Photoshop or doing something himself and can just go like download and use. Like I said, for that key art, 1920 1080 is usually the one I go for there. The no logo one is usually 2560, 1440. This is boring, I'm just raking numbers, but the reason I list this one is because it's the same size that Google uses for their YouTube channels. And if you might have noticed that if you create a Steam page, about 2 to 3 months later, automatically there will be a category created for it on YouTube, but it won't have art on it. And if you're going to submit that, you need to actually send an email to Google, yes, really, with those two assets in it, which is the background with no logo and then a box art with logo. So those are two assets you're going to need anyhow because you're going to submit that. The same goes for Twitch. Twitch also has a category. It's easier to get that made. I think it takes about 2 weeks or 1 week sometimes for it to automatically be created on igdb.com, so like the International Game Database, which is tied. They're both owned by Amazon. If you're a developer, you can say, hey, I'm the developer of this game, and they can actually assign the game to you, so you have priority to edit it, and whenever you make changes, it won't have to be approved by a moderator first. But even if you aren't me as a PR person or even as a gamer, I can go and make suggestions like a Wikipedia to an IGDP page entry and say like, hey, this game has a new trailer now, this game has new key art now. I can make suggestions to it, but a moderator will still need to approve it. But you'll need assets for that. You'll need a box art, you'll need a square version of your game, and this will be used in multiple instances. Like if you're bringing your game to Switch, for example, they have those square box arts on the home screen of your Switch where you select which game to load. So you're going to need to have that asset anyway. But some other sites use it as well. They'll use your key art in full when you're opening the article, but maybe they have a list of articles that you can click, and there they will have a preview, and maybe they'll have a thumbnail for that preview, and oftentimes that's square. And you want to avoid them using your key art and just cutting a square out of it, especially if your logo is embedded in it, because sometimes you get funny situations. And an example I always use here is Hoverloop. It's a game I worked on before I was in PR, but I once saw some outlet cropping this to Overloo, which sounds like a toilet running over. And at that point I realized like, yeah, maybe I want to impact that's not happening and just giving them the asset they need instead of making them do their own things.
For a lot of what we just spoke about, and especially with the different dimensions, the things that you're going to need, I'll post some articles down below. And again, I know Robby's website has a lot of amazing ones that are just really helpful, both from the pitch deck all the way through to what goes into your media kit. So I'll post a lot of Robby's articles that he's already written about those types of things for you to kind of dig and dive into a little bit later and get the exact details that you would need as a dev when you're looking to submit to different places like Google and Steam and Nintendo and everywhere else.
We were talking about assets, like just quickly going through the rest of them. You'll need screenshots. Pick your best ones. Don't overdo it. Like you can put a Google Drive on. If I'm making a Notion press kit, I'm handpicking the best screenshots. But if I had difficulty selecting those, and I know there are much more better, not other screenshots, but maybe somebody else will prefer them, I will still link to a Google Drive and go like, if you need more screenshots, you can find them here. But I've made a pre-selection of them on the Notion. GIFs, the same thing. I'll always use one GIF in the press release, but maybe on the press kit I'll have 4 or 5 of them in case somebody wants to use those. Also, by the way, a tip there, if you really have a really good GIF that sells your game well, or that's like meme-worthy or something, upload them to Giphy and Tenor. That's a personal trick here, because if you're on your phone and you're posting a social media post about your own game and you don't have access to your cloud drive or something, or you can't easily access whatever you need, you can just search in the GIF bar and find your own game there. Plus, if you put hashtags for it, like I've got this one for Trifox where he's on fire, and I made a joke about it being Firefox, for example. People search for Firefox, and that Tenor GIF has been used 700 times. And that doesn't mean it's been seen 700 times, it means 700 different times somebody else made a post using that GIF, and that reaches even more people. So that's just a nice trick to keep in mind. And then, just text info. You're about the game again, your key features again, who's making the game, how they can contact you, what platforms is it releasing on, at what price is it releasing. Stuff like this. Basically, your press kit should be a living document that you look at least once per month and go like, did I make any significant changes to my game, and should I give the press kit another look and update some stuff? Just the same way like you would do to your Steam store page or your other store pages.
Awesome. So you're just kind of, again, you're reinforcing everything that you put through the main email, and now this is just adding more to it, giving more context, giving more information, giving more images, GIFs, videos, the whole thing.
And to showcase how important that press kit is, whenever I send out a press release, I have metrics saying how many people opened it, how many people clicked it. And usually 20 to 30% of the clicks are the press kit, of people searching for extra stuff that are not yet in the press release. So it tells me that it's very important.
And would you be including the same press release when it comes for the actual like initial game announcement, when you're sending out saying like, hey, this game is like, we don't have a date yet, anything along those lines, but are you still including a press kit with those initial emails that are going out?
People need those assets. And then oftentimes when we send out an announcement, it will be alongside an event. So the showcase will have trailer, and then a few minutes after your game has been in a showcase or something, people will get the press release in their inbox, and probably maybe they've already started writing about it. They'll see the pop up, and then they say, here's all the information I need. And instead of going from writing stuff themselves against a deadline that's impossible to meet because the next trailer is already starting, they can just copy paste some stuff and they can find the assets they need much quicker.
If a dev does manage to get into a showcase, you would kind of time that press release with when the trailer goes live.
Yes.
You're hitting send right after to, really
and that's a tough thing because most of the time we don't get your game will air at this minute.
Yep.
So we just know this showcase takes place from that hour to that hour. I'm in Europe. Most events happen on US time schedules, so it often happens I'm awake until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, just waiting for them. They shared my game. I send out a press release right away. I think that as well. Like, I'm sending this at a really weird time for other European people. I'm sending this at 1:15 a.m. on a Friday evening. Who's going to see this in Europe? And then an hour after sending up my press release, and I go check my open click rate, and I see 43% have opened this already. I'm going like, okay, so a lot of people were watching this showcase and were waiting for this press release alongside it to have the information that they need. But if that doesn't happen, for example, if the open rate stays like 20%, 30% lower than what I usually see, then I know that, this was really bad timing for most people. I'll do a resend like next week, and I'll remind people of like, hey, here was this press release we had to send at an unfortunate timing. Sorry if this is the second time sending it. Depending on how many people opened it, I will just resend to everyone or only send to the people who didn't open it yet.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. If you are using a tracking tool like a Kit or a MailChimp, whatever it is it going to be only to the unopened or?
Yeah,
perfect.
And that's awesome. Very useful to have, so you don't keep spamming the same people over and over and over again. We can even filter on clicked. Like sometimes they might have opened it but didn't do anything, and then if you just say like, don't send it to anybody who clicked it, because from people who clicked anything, we know that they had extra commitment. They don't need to receive it a second time.
Yeah, I think that one for me makes the most sense. It's like opened is one thing, especially again, many people will open it and close it or open, okay, remind me later. But I think when someone clicks like that's showing true intent of like interaction with your email. Awesome. All right, Robby. So we have our different assets. We have our professional facing assets. We have our user facing assets. Now I want to just quickly go over the actual, like, let's call it coordinated strike. I don't want not in a war term. Let's call it like more of a strategy of a getting this out here. All right, Robby. So we have our different kits. We have everything prepped in. Now I just want to quickly spend a little bit of time about finding the right journalists and kind of building out that media kit. I know obviously someone like you, when you're working with a professional, you have your lists created. You have a nice backlog of people that you've worked with, people that you've reached out. But for kind of a first time dev or someone who's only released 1 or 2 games, what are some different places or different things that you would recommend them do when it comes to creating their media list of who are they going to reach out to?
First of all, I would definitely consider using tools for everything. And not just tools, but existing press lists. Like, I use it as well. Pressly is my own tool that I'm using. And every person on the contact list is somebody I added myself manually. So that's my list. But I also use Press Engine. And Press Engine is a combination of a keymailer tool, because every developer can just create an account for free. And then people can say, like, yes, I want to have a key on to review the game. It's accessible by press and by content creators. They don't charge for that, but they do charge for sending out emails. And that's logical, because every email you send has a risk of people going, that's too many emails for me, unsubscribe. But you get a list from them that you can just send to, and then you can filter by platforms that they own, by categories that they own, or you can keep it really wide and go like, this is an announcement, I don't know yet who's going to be interested, let's just send it to everybody. And you just need to make the distinction between press and creators, or send out to both of them, but you're using their list. That's already like 6,000, 7,000 people, depending on your game and genre, that you can contact without you having a list of your own. So that's something I would really consider, because the cost is decent. And if people say like, yeah, I want to review this game at a later point, they already have the free approval system connected to it that other places charge money for. On that same topic, if you're at the point of sending out keys for a game, so closer to the release date or something, I would definitely consider exploring stuff like Keymailer, I used Lurkit myself for a while, but I stopped using it because it was getting, one, too expensive, and two, most of the fakes I was encountering was coming from that platform, sadly. But I would explore, experiment, and see, like, use one of those things, because all of those things have in common that they don't use your own list. You can send it to your own list if you want to, and you can ask people on your own emails going like, hey, if you want a key, ask it on Keymailer or ask it on Press Engine. But I would recommend not doing that because it creates an extra barrier to entry for people you're directly contacting, and if they don't have an account on those platforms yet, they first need to make an account just to request a key. So I wouldn't do that. But sending out on their platforms to their already registered members, that's a big plus, because you don't have to spend the time in building that list and you can still send out to them. How to build your own list? There's no easy way to go about this. That will just take ages. I started Pirate PR 3 years ago, but that list I started using from the first day was in the works for like 2.5 years already. I was just keeping a spreadsheet, putting myself through, let's think of a genre I like or a genre I don't like, doesn't matter, and just searching for a game, and then the top 10 people who played this game. And every day I forced myself to find 10 people on YouTube who played that game. And on YouTube, you have a limit of 10 per day that you can reveal email address. There's a way around that, obviously, by just having multiple YouTube accounts. But for myself, when I wasn't really getting paid for it yet, it wasn't my job yet, but I knew at some point I wanted to do something with it. It was a good challenge for myself to, like, every working day, add 10 people from YouTube, because that's 50 contacts per week. That adds up quickly. If you just do that for a year, that's a lot of contacts on just YouTube. And if you go beyond just YouTube and also say, I'll do 10 people on Twitch per day, 10 people on TikTok per day, 10 people on YouTube per day, that's already getting yourself a long way. For written articles, you can just go like, where do I find my news, and find out how do I contact those sites so I can send them press releases. Or if my game is coming out, who do I want to review it? And then you can find either the person who reviews it, their email, or their editor. And then you send those guys a code at some point, and they will do who gets to review this themselves. That's a little bit more difficult because it takes a lot of tracking down of emails. Usually those bigger websites, they don't list their emails publicly, so you have to go into some kind of contact form and explain, hey, I am a solo dev, I'm working on this game, I would like to send out the press release soon, even though I don't know when yet. Can I please have the email to send it to when I get to that point? And then only half of those forms you're filling in will ever actually reply to you. So it's a really uphill battle there to get contact of the press. Written press is also under a lot of stress right now. Lots of people getting fired, lots of sites closing down. So contacts that you've added last year and you're sending an email to this year probably will just bounce or go like, we no longer exist. So it's really important to keep that alive and to always, like, every week be active with that and keep updating your files and your contact lists. But it's a lot of work. So that's from all of the things that people, I can outsource a lot of things to the developers themselves, which sounds weird because they're the ones making the game and asking me to do stuff, but I still outsource work to them, as in I ask them to handle certain things like code send out. I can coach somebody to do code send out in an hour. Basically, here are red flags to avoid, here is what I check, just rinse and repeat, but it takes a lot of work. And you probably want to do it yourself, because if I have to do it, it's expensive. If you can do it yourself, it's cheaper. And you can still ask me for help, and that'll be free. But if I'm going through it, it will take me days. If you're going through it, it will take you probably 50% longer because you're not as experienced in it, but still you can do it yourself. But that's the one thing, sending out a press release, where I do consider use a tool like Press Engine or hire a PR agency. There's a lot of cheap options out there. Pirate PR isn't expensive. I've worked with a lot of my friends who are in the same price category. If you're just looking at how much time it will cost you to build that list, you're probably cheaper off just like doing freelance job, whatever, and paying a PR guy to send out that one press release for you than investing hundreds of hours just to build a list that already exists on somebody else's spreadsheet. So that's the one thing I would consider, finding someone external to help with that or using a tool for it. Or a subscription service.
Awesome. Now, quickly, I do want to touch on embargoes because I know this is a big part of this whole element, right? Whether it's your first release, whether it's the game release, any announcement that you're kind of working with an embargo. First, just quick rundown of what an embargo is, but also how far in advance are you letting these people know about the embargo? Is it, hey, I'm sending a press release on Monday letting you know about the game and it's only for a handful of days, or is it kind of weeks at a time to give the developer or the reviewer or the news press enough time to, get their stuff in order?
This again differs. The press release is like I said, that's the bulk shotgun approach, sending it to everybody. You can put an embargo on this, but then you also, the bigger your list is, the more risk that somebody will break it. And if you're working on something really sensitive, then you need to shrink that list. And at that point, I just usually try to avoid embargoes altogether. And whenever my press release goes out, is usually at the moment when everybody can talk about whatever is in the press release. But I will have preceded some important people with the information beforehand, but that's more like a one-on-one outreach where I'm going, soon I will send out this press release. Do you want to have already the access so you can just press go live with your article the second that showcase goes live as well? But that really needs to be people you trust. It's not just big outlets, because big outlets can make embargo mistakes as well. It's really people, not just big outlets, but people you trust, that you've talked to, that you've worked with. They haven't let you down before, that you can really say, like, here is some vital information I'm entrusting to you. Because oftentimes, if I'm working for bigger clients, it's not just my embargo that's on the line, but I have signed an NDA with them saying, I can't talk about this before that date, but I can't do my job unless I'm talking about it before that date. So I have to do stuff in my turn. And that's only with people I trust, because I don't want to do contracts. I don't want to do NDAs. I can't enforce it. I'm basically a solo freelancer doing press releases. If somebody would break my embargo, I can't go and sue them. It's bad for my reputation. It costs me money and it won't result in anything. So I'm not going to work with contracts. I'm just going to be very careful with that. So the embargo I care about the most is when people get the full game before anybody else. When I'm sending out review codes, then I will have an embargo for video content and an embargo for reviews. And that's things I'm going to enforce. And if people keep repeating those infractions and going like, here's my review out 2 days before the embargo, like maybe once and I can let it slip after a warning, but it happens 2 or 3 times, then they're going off the list because I can't risk it happening again and again and again.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So I try and hold back embargoes unless it's something.
But for
really
a
big,
press release and for an announcement, I rarely use embargoes. And the second I send it out is the second everybody can use whatever is in it publicly, just to avoid any kind of headaches.
As we're coming up to the end, I do have one final question. When it comes to thanking people, right? You've sent out these press releases. You do actually get some content being created. Are you sending follow-up thank yous? Is there, something that you would recommend for indie devs to do just to continue to build that trust with these individuals?
Yeah, and if you see, for example, somebody creating coverage for your demo, then it makes sense to reach out to them and say like, hey, thanks for doing coverage for my demo. I will be sure to put you on the list for a full game code, especially with creators, so that they know about this. Me, myself, as PR, usually it's people sending me the coverage afterwards. I will put some line in my press release or whenever I send out a key or something saying like, hey, if you can share your content with me beforehand or after, or tag me online or something, I make it easy for them to reach out to me so they can say, here's my article, here's my video, or they can just tag me on social media so I can either publicly say thank you, where everybody can see it, or if they send me an email and go like, here's my link, or here's my quotes with my score 2 days before it goes live, but hey, you can at least look at it, or you can use it in your accolades trailer or in the next press release. Then I will say thank you, or I can even make some corrections still. Like just today I saw somebody posting something early to me and saying, you can upgrade Ruffy and Riverside, you can upgrade his head, and you can upgrade the health, the stamina, and his attack power. And then I can correct, like, actually, the attack power is not one of the things you can upgrade. It's just the health and the stamina. And then I can still help them make some small corrections ahead of time so they don't post something that isn't true.
I love it. All right, Robbie. Well, this has been amazing. I wish we had more time because I feel like this is just like a rabbit hole that is infinite of how many things that we can talk through. But before I let you go, one thing that I do with every single guest is we here at Freaking Cool Indies feel that it's very important to pay it forward and kind of shout out some of these amazing indie devs that are creating these fantastic projects. So I wanted to pass the mic over to you to have you just give a quick shout out of either a game or a developer, just someone that you've been really enjoying with their building and you want to kind of shout it from the rooftop.
Yeah, one that always keep repeating is Aaero, and that's written with two A's, Ero. Yeah, and by the way, there's a story behind that. He starts the game with two A's because he wants it alphabetically listed at the top when people are going, here are the top 10 games of, and if they list by alphabet, he's the first one, which is pretty smart, but also not that easy to write. And it's a rhythm-based on-rails shooter, so you're flying through a level, res style, and on the rhythm of the music, you're shooting and you're painting enemies and firing rockets at them or firing a laser gun at them. But the really cool thing is there's like a spiral line through the level, and if you follow that with your ship, you have to follow it, otherwise you take damage or you lose a life. But it also just avoids all of the objects, and then you're going through a level and it's like boom, boom, boom. And then if you're following that spiral, the boom, boom, boom will miss you like just barely, and it's just like so super satisfying. And I suck at rhythm games, which is an important aspect. I play them on easy or normal, never on difficult or master expert or something, because just can't beat them. But I love them so much. When a game finds that perfect balance of visuals and music, it's just, that's the goosebumps moment.
I love
like
it.
From my top 10 lists, top 10 games ever, I think there is a soundtrack or a musical aspect to all of them where that is like the main thing that makes me think back of them in fondness.
Amazing. Yeah, that honestly, I feel like I listen to the Ori soundtrack at least once a week. That's my ultimate, like, I need work to be done, Ori. Like, I'm cleaning the house, like, Ori. Like,
currently, for me, it's Expedition 33 still.
Great soundtrack. Great soundtrack.
I just listen to that on repeat.
I love it. And lastly, Robbie, where can the people find you? If someone's listening to this podcast, they love what you were talking about and they want to hire you or they just want to get in contact, where's the best places to find you?
Just search Pirate PR. I'm very easy to find. It's sadly on Twitter, it's PR_pirate because the other one was taken already. But most places, if you just search for Pirate PR, you'll find me.
Amazing. And again, to our listeners and our viewers, Pirate, it's a fantastic website. B, his blogs has amazing content just to help out with a lot of things. And then he has great templates. Robbie, you do a great job with your templates and just providing that free value to people to really help out, even if they aren't employing you. So that is awesome. And there's a coloring book. And who doesn't like a coloring book?
I'm proud of that one. At some point, I'm going to make a physical version for it. Where people can actually order it and have it delivered to them in print with all of our games in it. Well, not just our games. I think only 40% are our titles and the rest are just external people who submitted a coloring page to me and they get included. No questions asked.
Keep me posted with that. I will be ordering some and we will definitely do a giveaway on Freaking Cool Indies of the Pirate PR physical coloring book. So with that, Robbie, it is official. You are a freaking cool indie. This is my little gavel. You are a freaking cool indie. And again, I just wanted to thank you so much for jumping on, spending time with us and walking us through this whole process of releasing and announcing a game. It is it's not one to scoff at, and there's definitely a lot of steps that goes into making sure that you have a well planned out and a well thought out announcement.
Thank you.
Awesome. So with that, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and again, thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.